see who is in here. Lori and Khaleesi and Stuart, I see you in here. Let's see, Ginger, Grand Rising, Jennifer K, Josephine, Errol. Good morning, Errol from Pompano Beach. Taquana, good morning to you. Josephine, Christine, TGIF, yes. Let's see here. Who else is in there? Pat Butler, good to see you. Pat Butler's feeling great. Good for you. Sharon and Henry, Denise. Bays, good morning, Bays. Good morning, Bays. Calvin, Latoya, good morning to you. Good morning. All right, so yeah, so a couple things on my mind today that I wanted to share with you guys. And I think I don't know, it's just worth like worthy conversation topics, that type of stuff. One has to do with this weekend. I I may not be able to make Saturday or Sunday's class. I'm gonna have to make that up to you because I am gonna go down to the Daytona 500 and I might have mentioned to you all before that we decided in the Black Business School to sponsor a black race car driver by the name of LeVar Scott. So we're doing our first sponsorship of a race car driver, and LeVar is a really great young man. He's 20 years old, and he gets out there with those NASCAR drivers and those big old machines, and they go 200 and something miles an hour around that track. And he's a smart guy. He's very pro black. He's consistent with our mission, and I talked to him and I met him and I really liked him. And I said, hey, I'd like to, let's see if we can do business, see if we can help each other. So we will be sponsoring our first race car driver, and hopefully we can grow in that relationship. So if you all could go take some time to go follow LeVar, LAVAR, LeVar Scott. His last name is Scott. I thought he was related to Wendell Scott. If you know, I don't know if y'all know Wendell Scott from the movie Grease Lightning. Richard Pryor played him. He was a black race car driver. And LeVar said, no, I'm not related to him, but I wish I was. So he's pro black. He's a good kid, and so I'm actually taking our oldest son out there with me so he can meet LeVar because they're both the same age and they both love cars. So I hope that means that they'll spark a friendship out of that. So so that might interrupt my ability to come in Saturday or Sunday. I'm going to try. I don't know what the schedule is. If they say something like, "Oh, we're not going to leave till noon" or whatever, then I'm in. I'm all in. If not, I will send you a text. So if you have not text the word morning to 87948, just get on that list, text morning to 87948, and I will notify you when that happens. Number two, next week we're doing an introduction to the selling of stock options. It's called Prime 101. Prime 101 is an introduction to our Prime program. So that's going to be Tuesday night at 8 p.m. So if you're interested in stock options and you would like to begin that process of learning how to make money by selling stock options, it's a great way to make extra income. It's really good for cash flow generation off of your stocks that you own, things like that. Then you can, I'll send you guys a link to join at a discount. And if you're in the Prime program, don't pay, because if you log into your Prime membership, you'll find the link to join for free. So if you're in Prime already, then don't join. And if you want to go join Prime and get free access as a bonus, you can do that. Or you can just join the Prime 101 event on Tuesday night, sorry, and that will be it. Now, if you want to join Prime, you can go to drboyceprime.com. Prime stands for Passive Recurring Income Machine. So it's a great way to make extra income in a passive fashion. It's literally making money without working. And so anyway, that's another announcement I wanted to make. Okay, so today I want to start our conversation by talking about something that Dr. Claude Anderson writes about extensively, and he sends his blessings. He's in the struggle right now, and we're praying for him. It's a tough time for the family, but he sends his best wishes. Every time I talk to Dr. Anderson, he always tells me how much he is so happy that we are sitting together and we're sharing his principles and going through his ideas. And I just I just promised him every time I talk to him, I promised him that I said, look, man, you've done the work. There is no more work that you have to do. We got you. We're going to carry this train and carry it all the way to the finish line. And so he sends his very, very best. And if you want to support Dr. Anderson and his family and for their work or show appreciation, I believe that on his website, powernomics.com, there is actually a course there that he actually has, as well as some other things that you can feel free to take a look at if that's of interest to you. Now, I'm trying to find my slides because I had to reboot my laptop and so I ended up putting the slides in the wrong section. But before we begin on that though, I want to talk about this article I just read. And this is an article in Black Enterprise. And in this Black Enterprise article, they said, according to a Federal Reserve report, white wealth grew 30% faster than black wealth during the pandemic. White wealth grew, so according to this study, white wealth grew 30% faster than black wealth during the pandemic. Okay. So let's do a yes or no consciousness exercise. How many of you are not surprised at all by this result? How many of you fully expected something like this? Like how many of you are like, yeah, that's pretty much what we always hear. Like, is anybody surprised uh or how many of you kind of feel like this is a repetitive story? This is kind of par for the course. This is what we hear on a regular basis. Put a yes if you kind of thought that this is something that I might say if I was to ask you to make a bet on whose wealth grew the fastest during the pandemic between white and black. How many of you would have guessed white people probably made the most money? Now remember, we're not talking about wealth levels. We're talking about growth of wealth. So it's not about where you started. It's about where how your wealth grew. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna say this doesn't surprise me at all. I fully expected this result. I want to just warn you that you're gonna see articles like this all the time forever. This is not going to change. This is always going to be the case for the rest of your life and mine. This is just the way it is. And I'm not going to go into exactly why, all the dynamics of that, but from a mathematical standpoint, when you have a bigger capital base, remember we talked about the importance of building a capital base for yourself and for your children and your grandchildren, and how that allows you to build wealth. Well, even if you go into our prime program, I've got students that have $1 million capital base and they're able to easily make $50,000 in a week, or 30,000, 20,000 in a week, because they got a big capital base. The students with the smaller capital base, maybe it's a struggle to pull maybe 400 in a week or 200 in a week, right? But either way though, the bigger your base is, the easier it is for you to make money. So we know who has the biggest capital base in America. It's white people. Why is their capital base bigger? Well, because they steal things. They've stolen things from us. We know this. We know the history. In fact, there's a movie right now. We're not the only people they stole from. If there's a movie out right now with starring Robert De Niro and Leonardo DiCaprio that my wife and I keep trying to get through. We keep falling asleep at 20 minutes in, but it's a good movie. It's called Killers of the Flower Moon. Has anybody heard of that movie, Killers of the Flower Moon? How many of you heard about that? Yeah, so Killers of the Flower Moon is basically a movie where there's a tribe. They were called the Osage, and they happen to live right down the street from the black folks in Black Wall Street, who we know what happened to them. And they were in Oklahoma also, and on their land they discovered oil. And once they discovered this oil, the Osage tribe became the richest per capita tribe, or sorry, per capita group of people on Earth. They became the richest per capita, meaning per person, average per person wealth. The average per person wealth of the Osage tribe was higher than any group on the planet. So when you make all this money, remember I talked about the protection of your wealth, your ability to protect your wealth. Remember, there's 4 stages of wealth. Knowing where the money is, that's financial consciousness. Making a plan to get the money, executing that plan, working the plan, right? The accumulation process, and then the protection process. You have to protect the assets. Well, according to this movie, the Osage were not quite able to protect their wealth from all the predators. What happened was, at least according to the film, is that a bunch of white men started moving to the town and they started marrying the women. All the women, a lot of the women were marrying these white men, and people just started turning up dead. And it happened to be wealthy people that were turning up dead. And their husbands were inheriting the wealth. And they had this big master. There was one guy that had a big master plan. When you talk about the man, people always talk about, well, the man's got a plan, and the man's doing this, and the man's doing that. Well, they did have a guy who was literally the man. I forgot his name. I had his name somewhere. But there was literally one guy. He ended up going to jail, so that's good. But he had a master plan. His master plan was, I'm gonna bring all my people to town, invite as many people as I can to this town. William Hale, that was his name. And we're going to come in here and make sure people start disappearing. We're going to start making sure they get sick and die. We're going to give them medication, and it's actually going to be poison. And then they're going to wonder why they're so cursed and all their people are dying young and all this other stuff, right? So this really happened. This go watch this movie, Killers of the Flower Moon. So this is what they did to Native Americans in the same state of Oklahoma that they did to black people in Black Wall Street in the same state of Oklahoma. And this does not include what they did in all the other states across this country. There's 50 states. All 50 of them have racial atrocities and extreme examples of wealth being stolen. And one of the things I would say too, in generally speaking, is that in this movie, I remember watching it and I was saying to my wife, there's one part in the movie where one of the elders was saying, "Why do y'all keep marrying all these white men? You're losing all your wealth." And I said that too. I said maybe there's a reason why there are people who understand the importance of of black people marrying other black people. Maybe they're not so crazy after all. Maybe y'all think they're being extremists, but maybe there's a protective mechanism that comes with that. And then also I remember thinking that it was interesting that they didn't quite understand that when you have money, you become a target. And I mentioned that. This is one of the reasons why I feel bad for young guys on the internet who are trying to make money or who made a little bit of money and they get flashy with their money. They start showing off how much money they have. Well, that makes you a target. That makes people want to target you to get access to what you have. So basically, the Osage became a target once they became wealthy, and they didn't understand that when your income comes up, your position in society changes. The way people view you changes. You may not view yourself any differently. You may think, I'm still the same person. I'm still Jenny from the block. I used to have a little, now I got a lot, right? You might still think you're Jenny from the block. You might still think you Pookie from the hood or whatever you used to be, but the world does not see you that way. The world does not see Pookie from the hood anymore. They see Sir Pookie, right? They don't see Jenny from the block. They see the international superstar with $1 million in the bank. And what happens then is people approach you differently, and they want things from you, and you have to be able to fend off those predators. Will Smith did a great interview with a and then I actually had gone through a financial trauma myself, and my manager actually sent me a clip of Will Smith talking about what it's like to be a rich and famous person. And I'm not rich Will Smith. I'm not pretending that I am at all. But she sent it to me because she said maybe this will help you feel better, because I was really mad and upset. I said, gosh, it's like you trust people and then they come in and they want stuff, and oh, I was really bitter. I was really mad. That financial trauma is real. That's why we created the Black Financial Therapy Department, because we brought in therapists, because a lot of you have experienced financial trauma. Like when you loan money to your cousin, he swore he was going to pay you back, and then you're literally shocked when they don't pay you back. You're shocked when their behavior changes because moral hazard creeps into your life. Remember, moral hazard is where you transfer power to another person. Suddenly, their behavior switches, and it really leaves you bitter, right? So these are things you have to heal from in order to build a functioning economy. So in this video that she sent me with Will Smith, who is actually a very wise man. I mentioned before, I don't know Will, but I talked to his brother Harry for many hours in two conversations, and I could tell he's got a real smart family. That's why I was real surprised that he just lost it and decided to slap Chris Rock. I didn't understand that. I wish men over 50 would act their age and stop setting bad examples for young people. That's why I was really happy that Shannon Sharp and Mike Epps worked out their beef, because I don't think it's a good example for young men. So anyway, Will Smith was talking to one of his nephews, and he was talking about the downside. He said the upside of being famous is that I can go and I can give someone a compliment and change their whole life. He said that's a lot of power. That makes me feel really good. That makes me feel great that I can actually help somebody's life like that. And he said, "Well, what's the downside, Uncle Will?" And he said, "The downside is that he said I have to have 8 lawyers on retainer all the time just because I get sued so much for stupid reasons." And one of the things that he said is that, and then he said, "Well, how do you deal with that?" And he basically said you have to be able to fight off the predators without letting your heart go dark. So what tends to occur is that when you become successful or wealthy, I want to just warn everybody: if you become successful, um, somebody's going to get mad at you for being successful, right? If you're successful, somebody's going to hate you for it. Somebody's going to assume you cheated. Somebody's going to, to spread rumors about you, whatever. And that's just what people do. And you have to learn how to just understand that that just comes with the territory. And so, in fact, um, I remember one of my friends used a great quote where he said, "The world just hates clever people." And I didn't get that at the moment. And what I think he meant was that basically when you figure things out, when you are that one person in your family that figures out how to build wealth and everybody else is struggling, or you're that one person who broke out of your situation because you were thinking different, there's always going to be somebody who's going to assume you got lucky. Some of you are in this category already. Some of you already know what I'm talking about. There's always going to be somebody who says, "Oh, well, you just got lucky. You're just blessed, and I'm not blessed." And what happens is they will you'll get hit with survivor's guilt. You know what survivor's guilt is, right? It's where you were the one person who made it out the hood, and somehow you feel like you have to carry people who don't even want to carry themselves. You have to do more for them than they're willing to do for themselves. So you might do your best, help out in every way you can, give as much money as you can, give as much time as you can, give all the best advice in the world, and the person doesn't take any of the advice, doesn't do any of the things you ask them to do, but yet they'll show up and ask you for a loan and will make you feel guilty because you're doing well and they're not. But the reality is that your actions play a big part in where you end up financially. So when I read this story about white wealth going up faster than black wealth, I don't think that white people are just generally better at wealth than black people. I don't believe that. I told you all. I believe that they have a larger capital base that grows faster economically because they spend so much time stealing our stuff, and that needs to be addressed through things like reparations. However, I think that when you look at these stories where they talk about racial disparities or they talk about how hard it is to be black, I think we have to ask ourselves: is that going to be my story? And if you say no, that's not going to be my story, then I think the thing you have to do is look around and be very honest and frank about some of the financial choices that you're seeing from other people, and just consciously say, I'm not going out like that. I'm not doing that. I am going to save my money and have my emergency fund. I am going to manage my debt and not go into debt over something silly. I am going to make a plan for my future. I am going to go ahead and break the generational curse and start jumping into the stock market. I am going to go ahead and start looking into buying real estate with my extra money instead of buying new shoes or whatever. I am going to take some time to meet with my family once a week or once a month to work on that family business or that investment club. I am going to take the time to learn financial literacy. You have to make that conscious decision. And really, because the thing is that there's money all around you. And part of financial consciousness is being able to see that money that's all around you. A lot of people can't even see it. All they see is the money that comes from their job. But how many of you, let's do a quick test real quick. How many of y'all follow Coinbase stock? How many of you have been hanging out with me enough to know that I have consistently talked about Coinbase stock in class? Does anybody give me a yes in the chat if you happen to know why I'm bringing up Coinbase right now? Give me a yes. I want to see who's been paying attention. I want to see who's been hanging out with us and listening. If you missed it, that's okay. I'm about to tell you what happened. Anybody say yes? Okay, put the yes. Thank you. Okay, I see a lot of yeses. Coinbase stock went absolutely berserk this week. They had an earnings announcement. That stock went up from, oh my God, I think that thing was trading probably about 140 like a week ago, and now it's at 190. I mean, that stock went bananas. It went berserk. And if you are, for example, in the Prime program, I've been talking for a long time about how I've been riding with Coinbase for a while. That's a great stock to make income from for selling stock options and all that. Now, I sold some of my options on the stock, but I also owned a few shares that I hadn't sold options on. So I made a lot of money. I literally went to sleep and woke up with thousands of extra dollars in my bank account because I'd been planting my little extra money into this Coinbase stock over time. And again, it doesn't happen all the time. It doesn't happen like that every day, but you can't win the game if you're not in the game at all. If you're sitting on the sidelines, nobody has ever won a Super Bowl sitting in the stands. There's never been a cheerleader who ever won a football game. That doesn't happen. There's never been a water boy or whatever. You have to be in the game. So the question is, what does that mean for you? What game are you trying to be in? And if you're trying to be into the money game, the biggest money game in America, the number one money game in America is the stock market. The stock market right now, up until this point for the last 100 years, has been the leading money game in this country. There has not been any greater wealth generator in this country than the stock market. Real estate's been nice. Real estate is practically guaranteed as long as you don't do anything crazy. That's guaranteed wealth, but that's a little slower, a little less liquid. Real estate it grows like molasses, whereas the stock market just kind of explodes on you, and there will be times where money will just pop out of thin air. So the one of the best gifts you can give your children on this planet when it comes to money, the greatest legacy gift you can offer them right now would be to get them to invest in the stock market and to start investing for them, because then they'll be in the game. Then they'll have a chance to win. So when everybody else is winning, they don't have to sit back and be mad about it and say, "Oh my God, I'm losing because I'm black." No, sometimes you're losing because you're not in the game. Being black does play a part in that, but that does not mean that being black matters. Of course, we know race matters, but that doesn't keep you out of the game. There's no whites only sign on the stock market. And remember, black people are the leading consumers on this planet. So the biggest barrier that you have to fight through is your brainwashing. It's the fact that they've trained you to give your money away to other people. They have taught you to waste your resources. Now, we could talk extensively more about Coinbase later. I'm going to say this. Typically, the market overreacts on the stock, so I'm kind of waiting for the stock to cool off. I sold some shares. So if you want to know what I did with my Coinbase, that's what I did. But we'll talk about that. If you guys are in the Prime program, I sent you guys a text out earlier. If you want to learn more, you can just go to drboyceprime.com. Feel free to take a look. I think you're going to like it. And there's a money back guarantee if you're not happy, but I know you're going to be happy. Everybody loves it. I met one of the students this week, and she was talking about how it changed her life because she had extra money to pay bills and stuff like that, and it felt much better for her. So if that's something that you're interested in, feel free to take a look. And again, there's a money back guarantee if you're not happy for any reason. All right, so let's see here. Uh, okay, I'm looking here. Oh wow. So Ginger, you said someone hacked in your cell phone and changed your password. We were temporarily relocated because we had a fire and I never saw the emails Coinbase sent regarding password changes. The phone companies treated me like I was a criminal. I think that was an inside job. Well, gosh, I'm really sorry, Ginger. Sheesh. Oh my goodness. Well, I wish you the best with that. There was one my friend she's an accountant. She was working with a man, a 90-year-old man who had a Coinbase account, and this man had $2 million in his Coinbase account, and somebody tricked him out of his money. They did one of those phishing schemes, and they called him and got his password and all that. And that poor guy lost $2 million. That was trying to get it back, but they had already taken it. And and Coinbase wouldn't help him at all. It was very sad to see that happen to an older man. So be really careful because financial fraud is on the rise. There are lots of examples of money being stolen in all kinds of places. So just keep that in mind as you invest. Account security is extremely important. So I don't want anything bad to happen to you. So make sure you're aware, because especially with AI and all that stuff coming out, they're just coming up with these really creative ways to take people's money, and it's just absolutely terrible. All right, so what I'm going to do is hop into the topic before. Now, remember, we were on commandment number 3, and commandment number 3 says that black wealth for black children should be a rite of passage. It should be a rite of passage. That means that all of our kids, give me a yes if you agree with me, that every black child that we care about is going to learn something about how to make money, so he or she does not have to sell themselves into slavery in order to make money. Give me a yes if you agree that we are not going to traffic our children anymore to the corporate plantation or or to the highest bidder. We're going to put our children in a position where they can be successful, where they can be happy. It is a horrible experience. My grandma, God bless my grandma Felicia, who our panther. The panther is our logo, and Felicia is the name of our panther, and I named it after my grandmother. I remember my grandmother telling me my nickname was Coco, and I remember her telling me one time, she said, "Coco," she said, "the worst feeling in the world is to spend 30 years doing a job that you hate." She said, "Do not ever do that to yourself." And when my grandmother told me that at the time, I did not know about the things that I'm teaching you guys about now. I didn't know those things. I was only 19 or something. But at the very least, I decided that I wasn't going to pick a career just for the money. A lot of us don't even have enough financial consciousness to even do that. We're not even trained to do that. To at least pick a career that you're going to enjoy. So if there's job A that you love that's paying you 70,000 and job B that you hate that pays you 78,000, a lot of people will take job B without even considering the intangibles. And I strongly believe that is a direct pathway to absolute misery. A direct pathway to absolute misery is to make all your decisions based on one criteria. One criteria. If you use one factor, one variable to make all your decisions, you're probably going to be miserable. It's just like if I chose my wife strictly by saying I'm going to marry the prettiest, woman I can find. And I don't care about how smart she is. I don't care if she's a good person. I don't care if she can cook. I don't care what kind of mother she is. Then I'm setting myself up for misery. I'm setting myself up to be screwed over. And so really being able to have what they call this multivariate decision making, multivariate multiple variables. You have to have that balance, or you're going to find yourself just stuck and just unhappy. So making money is important. Everybody needs money, but money should be one among many variables that you use in order to make a decision. So basically every black child in America should understand the fundamentals of wealth. Our kids should learn wealth as well as we learn basketball, football, dancing, and church. I compare it to those four things because we're very good at all four of those things. Why are we good at dancing? Why are we good at football? Why are we good at basketball? It's because we spend thousands of hours doing these things, thousands of hours. If somebody spends 10 hours a week playing football or whatever, or let's say 5 hours a week, whatever. Well, really, let's say 10. Let's say they practice 5 days a week for 2 hours a day, 10 hours a week over the course of a year. That's about, let's assume they take 2 weeks off. That's 50 times 10, which would be 500 hours. If they do that over a decade, that's 5,000 hours. If they do that for say 2 decades, that's 10,000 hours. 10,000 hours that a black child, if he practices football for almost 2 decades, but let's say it's not 2 decades, let's say a decade and a half. Let's be reasonable here. Let's say let's 7,500 hours of practicing football, 7,500 hours of practicing basketball. So I want you to ask this question. Here's a consciousness exercise for you. Do you think that if our kids on average spent 7,500 hours learning business, that they would be better at business? Give me a yes or no. Do you think that if our kids before the age of 18, now this is before they even start life, do you think that if our kids spent 7,500 hours understanding the ins and outs of money, do you think that they'd be better? You think that they'd be able to make money? You think they'd be able to go out and get some of that? Yes or no? You think if they spent 7,500 hours learning real estate, do you think they'd be better at real estate than the average person? Yes or no? Because here's what I want you to process here. And this is where we win. This is where black people win. I don't care about equality. I told y'all that. I don't talk about equality. Equality is for suckers. Equality is for all that. That's the past. That's the previous. My goal is not to be equal with white people. You can't be equal with us because we are the original man, the original woman. We've gone through things nobody else has gone through. We're not supposed to be equal to nothing. We're supposed to win this thing. So the Kansas City Chiefs were not trying to be equal to the San Francisco 49ers. So I'm not trying to be equal with nobody else. No disrespect, but I'm literally not trying to go for equality. I'm going for the win. Okay. So going for the win, I want you to think about this for a minute. 7,500 hours spent by the age of 18 to learn about wealth. What does that look like? Let's process that for a minute. I could show anybody there's millions of people that don't know how to invest in the stock market. I could explain to that person in 1 hour enough about the stock market that they could set themselves on a trajectory that would build wealth for the rest of their lives. It'd be very easy to. In fact, if I had 15 minutes, I could do it. But we're talking about 7,500 hours. I would only need 15 minutes. If I had 100 hours of study on that topic, oh, you're flying high. You're way ahead of everybody else. That's 100 hours. We're talking about 7,500 hours. I mean, this is the amount of time we put into football, the amount of time we put into basketball, dancing, and church. What else? If you go to college and you take a class from me at Syracuse University where the tuition is $71,482 a year or something like that, you're going to see me on, let's say, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, for about, let's say, an hour, or really it's 45 minutes, but let's say an hour to make the math easy. So you say to yourself, I want to be good at stock market investing. Pay attention now, follow the math here. And so you say, I'm going to take Dr. Boyce's class at Syracuse and where the tuition is $71,000 a year. So I'm going to meet him 3 times a week and for 3 hours a week. And then on top of that, I'm going to study for an hour for every hour I'm in class. So you're giving 6 hours a week. A semester is 16 hours. So that's 6 times 6, 36, 9. That's 96 hours that you put into that class. And let's say that in those 96 hours, or let's say that you decide because you want to be good at investing, you take 4 investing classes. Now, you didn't have to take 4 stock market classes to get a degree in finance. You didn't. But let's say that you really wanted to overdo it because you want to be damn good. Pay attention now. I need y'all to follow this. You want to be the best. So you take 4 classes. Right? So you put in 96 times 4 hours. Let's round it up. You put 400 hours into studying finance. I mean, you're the man now. You can go. Do you know how many students I sent from Syracuse University to go work on Wall Street with that number of hours of training in stock market investing with less hours than that? Do you follow? Are you following this? So they're on Wall Street. They're experts on Wall Street. Now compare them to a B1 child. I say a B1 child, and I'm not talking about a black child, because not every black person is going to understand, even take the time to even listen to what I'm saying to you right now. I'm talking about B1. I'm talking about blackness 2.0. A black and excellent child who had parents that took this class, which I don't know, maybe it cost you $100 or something. I don't know what you paid to be here, but whatever it was, I know it's going to be worth it because I know the value of what I'm sharing with you. And so their parent took this class in 2023 and got them started on this Dr. Boyce framework that says no, don't give your child the basics. They deserve the best. So you've given that kid 7,500 hours of training in investing and wealth by the age of 18. But an expert, the kids who think that they're experts got to college and got 400 hours after the age of 18. Your kid had, what is that? Almost about 8 times more, 8 to 10 times more training before the age of 18 than the other kid who is now a Wall Street expert. Do you understand how massive this is? So if you want to break this down into one simple thing that changes everything, one simple thing, we have to care as much about our economics as we care about dribbling basketballs for white people. That's what we have to do. We have to care as much about our financial future as we care about sending our kids on the football field so they might get brain damage at an early age. I saw a football star when I was in Vegas for Super Bowl weekend, and I felt really bad. I took a picture with him, but the poor guy looked like a junkie. I'm telling you the truth. He was a star too. He was all pro. He was really good. That's why I knew him, because he was a great player. I said, man, this guy looks like he's on drugs. I don't want to be where he is. And last time I heard, he got fired from his job. I don't know why, but I wonder if something's going on psychologically, because it's a real story. And he lived the dream. I mean, 99.9% of all black male football players never make a nickel playing football. This man made millions, but he's a junkie. He didn't have no wife and kids. He wasn't leading the family. He wasn't doing anything positive for the community. He was on the phone looking for a hit. That's what he was doing. So what I'm saying to you is, maybe we have to stop living on the sucker's dream and actually create a real dream. Maybe we should get our own vision instead of accepting and embracing the vision that's handed to us by other people. There are other people out there that tell us, this is your dream. This is what you want to be the next LeBron. You want to be the next. Maybe some people can be the next LeBron. Maybe they're going to be 6'8", 240 pounds. 99.9% of all black boys ain't going to be the size of LeBron. They can't be the next LeBron. You're not big enough. Most men don't even grow past 6 feet tall. So just as a side note, when ladies say I only date men over 6 feet tall, I find that so funny, because anybody ever been on the basketball court? The guy that's 6'2" plays the center because he's the tallest one on the team. Everybody else is 5'9", 5'10", 5'8", right? But then again, whatever. That's life. That's me being a hater. I get jealous of the guys that are taller than me. But the point of the matter is to say that, generally speaking, we have to have a different dream. Right. And I personally think that if you want to talk about playing in a game, in a competition, I think the game of economic competition is far more fun, it's far more rewarding, and it's far more accessible than this NBA, NFL nonsense. That stuff is a sucker's dream. For every one guy that makes it, there's 1,000 guys that didn't, and they don't know what to do because they put everything into a dream that wasn't going to happen for 99.9% of them. I don't agree with that. So I'm not saying quit the football team. I'm not saying stop playing basketball. I'm saying that the same effort and energy that you put into basketball, you need to put twice as much effort and energy into your economics because I know a lot of guys who never played basketball who make more money than basketball players. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so let's hop back in and look at this slide really quick. Okay, and by the way, in case you didn't mention, I'm going to mention this a million times just so everybody gets a heads up. We are doing a stock option summit, a live in-person stock option summit in Los Angeles, April 19th. So if you want to join us for the stock option summit, where we're all going to get together and network and do and learn stock options and all different kinds of strategies, just make sure you're on the text list and I'll send that to you. Another list you can get on if you want to see the training on how to make money without working is text the word money to 87948. If you text money to 87948, I'll send you that training also. And also, I'll send you the link to join us in Los Angeles if you'd like to join us for that. And the All Black National Convention is going to be October 25th through the 27th in Chicago. Not in Chicago, but in a town called Lombard, which is a suburb of Chicago. So don't worry, you won't be stuck in downtown Chicago. You'll be in a really super nice suburb. It's right next to the nicest neighborhood in America, called Naperville. It was literally ranked number one in the country for the nicest neighborhoods, and it's a great place. The hotel's the Westin. It's a beautiful, luxurious space. The rooms, we got them to drop the room prices down to 150 a night, so you can afford to bring the whole family. And the convention's a lot of fun. So feel free to go to allblacknationalconvention.com if you'd like to go ahead and make preparations to join us. Okay, so will there be virtual seats at the events? No, there won't be, not for the stock options summit. But for the A, B, and C, we may or may not. We have to sort of see how that works in terms of the budget. Okay, so if you give your kids training on economics early, it gives them a great sense of validation. When kids are focused and skilled and have their sense of purpose, you find that the energy naturally lights up with them. I've seen examples when we educate our kids in our Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program in the Black Business School. I've seen trouble kids who struggle in traditional school, suddenly do extremely well, where their parents are seeing them motivated. Because a lot of times your boys may give you trouble because they may not see the value of going to school every day. They may not understand why this white lady's telling them what to do, but then they get introduced to making money and they're able to connect the dots. They're able to see how education pays off for them. And then you start seeing this light spark up in them the same way it does when they play football or basketball. And I think this is a really important thing, especially for your Black boys, because a lot of Black boys don't belong in the public school system. They just get kicked around and they don't really fit in that well. All right, so, and they don't want Black males in the public school system. There's a principal in Chicago who came to my podcast the other day who was telling me about how in Chicago they're systematically firing the Black male principals. So they really want the Black boys to be controlled and contained, almost like animals, and managed mostly by white females. But there's always an inherent clash between the young Black male and the white female. And this is just a reality that a lot of us have seen as Black men. Well, it's natural because white women don't understand us. So effectively, when you get your child introduced to things like economics and get them learning from people that they actually can relate to, you'll be amazed at what comes out of that boy when he's in that space where he feels loved, validated, and supported. And so getting that early training economically, your child starts to form an identity. They start to feel a sense of validation. They start to feel a sense of pride and purpose. Early exposure to economic concepts that shape their lives when they get older. It gives them a competitive advantage. I mentioned that I did it mathematically. I showed you the difference between that child. They get 7,500 hours of economic training before the age of 18 versus the flimsy little college student who only got 400 hours, and that person did twice as much as most college students. Most college students don't even take a single finance class at all. But I literally use an example of someone who takes 4 classes on investing, which actually, when I was at Syracuse University, you didn't have to take 4 investment classes in order to get a degree in finance. But even that person who goes to that extreme has less training than your kid when they come through the door. There's a whole 18 years that they're on this earth before they get to college age. And the sooner you can heighten their economic consciousness and get them ready and sort of understanding how the economic world works, and the more someone is preparing for them while they are unconscious conscious, sort of getting the world ready before they understand the game of competitive economics, the better off they're going to be. It's really like running a race where they get a running start. Anybody who ever runs a 100-meter dash knows that a person who gets a running start is always going to be the person who's starting from a stationary position. And so, generally speaking, what I'm really seeing here, and this goes back to our concept of economic consciousness. When I see a child who is before, let's say, younger than the age of 14 or 15, it's almost like I see a person who has taken anesthesia. You know, when I went to the hospital and I was unconscious, I couldn't do anything for myself. I didn't know what was going on. You could have came in there. You could have robbed me. You could have stole from me. In fact, I was at the dentist and they were beating up on my face. I mean, I woke up I looked like I had been punched out by Mike Tyson because that's what they were doing. They were literally putting their feet up on the thing, pulling and yanking and hammering and I was knocked out. I was gone. I was completely unconscious to everything that was happening. The only security I had was to know that when I was unconscious, my wife was out there watching the world for me. She was the one who knew what was going on, right? So what I'm saying is, and without her, I don't know. They could have done anything to me, right? Anything could have happened. So the same thing I think is true when your child is not economically conscious yet. A 12-year-old is not really conscious of the consequences of their economic choices at the age of 12. Their brain is not fully developed. A newborn baby is not economically conscious. So what that baby needs, if that baby is going to be safe in the world, is they need somebody who is conscious, who's going to look out for them. Do you understand? That is your job. That is your job. If you're the grandparent, that's your job. If you're the parent, that's your job. If you're the uncle, the mentor, that's your job. Right? Why is that important? That's an important job because if a kid has nobody looking out for them, and this is how most of us grew up, most of us had nobody looking out for us really financially. We had people that paid the rent, gave us food, but there was nobody investing for you when you were a baby because if they had invested even tiny amounts of money for you, you never would have had to work a job in your life. You would have hit the age of 25. They would have said, here's $250,000 that we've been building for you over the last 25 years when you were economically unconscious. Now that you're woke, now that you understand the value of money, here you go, son. Here's a check for $250,000. Just make sure you protect that money so that you never have to go to work anymore. Most of us didn't have that. I don't know. Tell me, did anybody get that? I didn't. I did y'all. What do y'all did y'all? I didn't get my check. Nobody wrote my check. And so not only did I not get my reparations from the white man, I didn't get my reparations from my family. But they didn't really know. They didn't know what we know, right? So when you know better, you do better. When you understand better, you change your behavior. You break the generational curse because y'all know better. Every single morning, you're talking. You have your own personal finance PhD that you're talking to every single morning, so you know better. So you have no excuse other than the fact that our habits sometimes betray us. Sometimes we have the wrong habits, even though we know the right things to do. So it takes practice. That's why we meet every single morning. That's why I decided this is the first year I've ever done a class where I met every single day. And I said, boys, this is what we're gonna have. I'm gonna have to take my game up another level. We're gonna have to start meeting every single day because we got to change our habits. Our habits are the things that betray us. This was something we figured out when we were sitting with the Black Financial Therapy Department, figuring out like what's going on with Black folks. Like, why is it that we do crazy stuff with our money? It's habits. It's not because we don't know anymore. It's not because the white man's magically blocking access to information. No, everybody can get on the internet. Everybody can get access to things like Chat GPT. If you can get access to books, there's nobody blocking you from that. It's habits. It's culture. So ultimately, now that you know better, the formula is simple. The game plan is very simple. To win this economic Super Bowl, what we got to do is make sure that when our kids are financially unconscious, before they're born or when they're very young, that small amounts of money are being invested for them so that when they become economically conscious, everything's going to already be in place because they're under anesthesia. They're children. Children don't understand how hard it is out in this world. Children don't get it. And what tends to happen is that we don't become really conscious until we get out in the world and the world kicks us in the face. We get body slammed by reality. Racism comes along and literally stomps you upside your head. And then you're dealing with not just regular racism from the fact that white folks don't like you that much, but you're dealing with economic racism, which is that America will never love a poor person. Who was it? Ozzie Davis said that. I heard him say it 30 years ago. I never forgot it. He said, America can forgive you for being black, but America will never forgive you for being poor. And that sucks. That's not fair. That ain't right. But that's just what it is. That's just what it is. So let me finish up this slide here. So early exposure to economic concepts that shape their lives gives them a huge competitive advantage. Also, it creates a family culture that values the building and the preservation of wealth. So culture is everything when it comes to wealth. Culture is more valuable, more relevant, more meaningful than training. Training doesn't mean anything if the culture is not right. So you got to really focus heavily on your economic culture, which is deeply connected to your economic habits. And we know what we're taught about jobs. And I'm going to go through this quickly because we went through this last time. We're taught that basically that a job is the only way to get money. Everybody has one. We're taught that jobs are not pleasant. And we're also taught that most of us work for white people. When we, in our minds, envision an employer, we're envisioning a white guy. We envision the employee, we're envisioning a black person. Also, we don't. I never grew up around people that were happy to go to work. I also remember just hearing people say that everybody should have a job. If you don't work, you don't eat. Stuff like that, and that this was the only way to get money. Nobody ever talked to me about investing in stocks or real estate or starting businesses and all that stuff. That wasn't even part of our vocabulary back then. So the rules for the kids in our house are really simple. Number one, I tell them that jobs are optional. I say, look, if you're really struggling for money and you want to find a really terrible way to survive, then what you do is you sell yourself to the corporate plantation and you trade time for money. You trade something that's infinitely valuable for something that will buy you like loaves of bread and some meat at the grocery store, which I think is a terrible trade-off. So jobs, I think jobs should be optional for the kids, especially if you're doing the $5 a day plan. They really don't have to work unless they want to. We talk about the $5 a day plan. I let them know I'm going to give them an endowment. I said, look, when you get out in the world, I'm going to do for you something similar to what Donald Trump's father did for him, except Donald Trump's father gave him $1 million loan. I'm not going to give you $1 million loan, but I will give you enough of a capital base that if you manage that capital base carefully, you will have at least financial security. You will at least have financial security. Also, I'm going to work hard to be the best businessman I can be so that you can come and work with me in my business and we can work together and bond as a family and also figure out a way to make money together. Next, I will give you economic skills. I will talk to you and expose you to ideas economically that will give you a Swiss Army knife, multiple ways to make money. It's very, very hard to survive economically if you only know one or two ways to make money. You want your child to know all the different ways to make money. Also, I will give you economic values that guide your decision making. So we're going to talk about what it means, why it's better to minimize the amount of debt you have. We're going to talk about why it's very important to plan for the future. We're going to talk about why delayed gratification is more beneficial than instant gratification. We're going to talk about all of that. So these are the things that I'm going to give you, and then the rest is up to you. The rest is up to you to decide what kind of person you want to be, what kind of life do you want to live, where do you want to be? Because the thing about kids that's really tough is that sometimes kids are stupid, and we know this, right? We know that we know that kids sometimes we got the kids that will learn because we tell them, and then we got kids that learn because they bumped their heads or the fire was too hot or whatever, right? And so you can't control them. You can only advise them and support them as much as you can, and then they go out into the world and then maybe later on they figure certain things out. All right, so here's what I call the poise model of Black economics. This is what we teach our children in our Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program. But by the way, the URL is blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com if you want to take a look, or you could just text the word youth to 87948 if you have an interest in our kids programs. Text youth to 87948. So the poise model, you're not going to find this in any textbook. We created this model specifically for Black economics. It was designed, it works for everybody, but I designed it for Black people because I'm a Black man and my number one obligation is to the Black community. So poise basically explains what you want your kid to be economically. If your child memorizes poise and internalizes this acronym, they are going to have a probably at least a 70% higher likelihood of being economically successful than the average kid. I kid you not. This one thing. Pay them $10 to memorize this one acronym and to explain to you what it means. I guarantee you that your child is going to blow away the competition when it comes to economics. Literally, the thing that I'm good at, my superpower, I'm not good at telling jokes. I'm not good at being handsome, but I am good at coming up with very simple yet incredibly powerful economic models where if you do these one or two little things, it literally takes your rocket ship to the moon. So let me explain the poise model. I'm very proud of it. We've taught it to millions of kids, and I want to teach it to your kids, and I hope you'll embrace this for your family. The P stands for producer. Your child wants to be a producer, not just a consumer. Everybody consumes, but the producers are the ones who make the money, the ones who produce the products. But producing also requires a certain mindset. For example, if I walk into a room and there's no water, there are some people who walk into that room where everybody's thirsty and there's no water, and they say, gosh, I wish somebody would sell some water because I'm really thirsty. But then there's the producer who says, oh, let me go see if I can go get some water and buy some water for 50 cents a bottle and sell those bottles of water for $2 each. That's a producer mindset. So if your child wants to be rich, if they want to be broke, they should be a consumer. Black people are trained to be broke. Black people are trained to be broke. Black people are trained to be broke. So if they want to be broke, be a consumer. Be a consumer all the time. If you want to be wealthy, be a producer because then you can sell a product and people will give you money to fulfill a need that they have. The O stands for owner. Owners versus people who are, say, renters. Renters support the lifestyle of owners. Renters are the horses, the owner is the jockey. So basically, when you measure quality of economic outcomes, or where you are wealth wise, ownership, what do you own? Ownership is the key to power in America. The fact that Black people don't own and control very much plays a huge role in our economic destruction and oppression and everything else that we experience. We feel like we're slaves because we're forced to go work for the owners, and so the reality in America is that if you don't own something, then someone is going to own you. So you want to train your kids to be owners. So where do you start with ownership? Well, you can start by getting on your app and owning some shares of stock. If you consistently buy shares of stock, then at least you own pieces of these companies, and then eventually maybe you own some real estate. But being the owner means you are typically the person that has the most power, but then also with that power comes some responsibility, but that's better than being the renter. The renters, literally, if I was to add up the amount, let me ask y'all a quick question, financial consciousness exercise. How many of you pay your bills on time? Give me a yes if you pay your rent on time. And let's give me a yes if you've been paying your rent on time every month or whatever, your rent, your cell phone, your car note on time every month for, let's say, a decade. Give me a yes. All the people that got good credit. And let's grade on the curve. Let's say good credit is like 660 or higher, or something like that. Hey, we know it's really like in the sevens, but I'm not gonna push you too hard. Okay, so you pay your right. So Vernon, Jennifer, Akira, I see you. Denise, Sharon says she has an 800 plus credit score. Good for you. Everybody clap for her. So that's great. All right, so you pay your bills on time. And so what you do when you're a renter, see, this is the thing, and I want you to pay attention to how other people in your family talk about renting. When they talk about renting, we talk about renting an apartment like it's a permanent thing. Like I have I have a nice apartment. I'm going to get a better apartment. Or you get out of college, oh, he has a really nice apartment. He's doing really well. And what we don't understand is that renting needs to be temporary. And the reason I asked you how many of you pay your bills on time, because what you've done when you pay your bills on time, what you've actually done for your landlord is you've created a wealth building annuity. You have built a an economic engine for that landlord. The same dynamics that in which I show you how the $5 a day plan, which is only $150 a month. That's all it is. It's not very much money. 100. It's not, at least not relative to your cell phone bill and your car note and your rent and whatever else you pay. So that 150 a month, how that grows into $250,000 over a 30-year period. So if that happens when you're talking about 150 a month, what do you think happens when you're talking about 1,500 a month? I want you to process that for a minute. And if you haven't seen the $5 a day plan, it's the website, I put it up there. It's blackwealthmasterplan.com. Or if you just text the word money to 87948, I'll send it to you if you haven't taken a look at that. So I want you to think about this. I explained to you all in very simple terms how with compound interest, $150 a month grows into about $250,000 or approximately 245,000, roughly, give or take a few thousand, by year 30. So if you're paying rent to your landlord consistently over, say, a 30-year period, you haven't given them $245,000. You've given them 2.4 million in generational wealth. Do you understand? So you didn't just buy your landlord a house. You bought your landlord a mansion. You bought someone a mansion and gave it all away. Do you follow? Does this make sense? So just understand that when you are paying rent consistently, what you've created for your landlord is what they call an annuity. Annuities are massive wealth creation vehicles because all it basically is it's a wealth accumulation process in which the same thing is done every single month over and over and over again, just like going to the gym every single day and every single month. And then on top of that, there's compound interest. So the more money you put in, the faster your money grows. And the next thing you know, you literally put $2.4 million in somebody else's pocket, but you don't even have $500 in your bank account for an emergency fund. You've got to fix that process. That should not be acceptable to you. That should not make you comfortable. That what I just said to you should make you say, "Wow, I never thought of it like that." Or how do I fix that? So, but there are people. Tell me if you know people that have paid rent for 20 or 30 years. I'm not making fun of them. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying that it wouldn't be a complex lesson to say at some point you have to graduate. Like we talk about graduating high school, we talk about graduating college, we even talk about graduating middle school, but we don't talk about what it means to graduate economically. So in my mind, graduating economically means that you graduated from being a renter to being an owner. That maybe you rented temporarily so you can eventually be an owner. Graduation to me also means maybe where you went from being the employee all the time to being the boss sometimes. You know, you can still work for people. I work for people all the time, but I'm also the boss of something. I still control something that's mine. Do you understand? So just understand that I'm not sitting here trying to say that that everybody should be an entrepreneur. I don't believe that. I don't believe everyone wants to be. I think entrepreneurship is hard work and all that, but I do believe everyone should own something. And remember that you can own businesses just by buying stock in some of these companies that are out here. And and in 2022, when the market was in the toilet, like this Coinbase stock that's trading almost 200, I bet in 2022 that stuff was 45 bucks. I remember Coinbase being so low that I said, "Man, this stock is gonna when's it gonna stop going down?" Right? I remember Coinbase in the 40s. Now Coinbase is almost $200 a share. Bitcoin was super low, right? So there's lots of ways you can buy and own assets without actually having to run a business. So don't think that you have to be an entrepreneur. You don't have to be the boss all the time. But you want to be the boss of something. So let me go through this poise model really quick. Okay, so producer owner, what's the I stand for? The I stands for investor. You want to be an investor. Investors are people who provide capital as opposed to simply being the borrower. The borrower is the person who seeks capital, right? So a lot of times we are trained to be the borrower. We're trained to be the ones who need the capital, but we're not always the ones who invest the capital. Investing requires a certain mindset, just like being an owner is a certain mindset. Being a producer requires a certain mindset, right? So all this financial consciousness is driven by saying to you that I want you to train your kids to start thinking of themselves in this way. I know a lot of people where it doesn't even cross their mind to take money that they receive and do anything with it other than buying stuff or paying bills. If they go and they win the lottery or something, first thing they're thinking is I'm gonna go pay some bills and then I'm gonna go buy me a blah blah blah. So I'm going to go maybe be a renter or whatever it is that I am in a consumer, and I'm gonna just go buy consumer products with my money. Like that's pretty much it. And really, people who build wealth are people who say, no, I'm gonna take this money and I'm gonna put this toward producing some sort of a product. I'm gonna take this money, I'm gonna put this toward investing in something, right? Some sort of delayed gratification. Delayed gratification, literally, Warren Buffett says that delayed gratification is so powerful that he said that wealth is pretty much a transfer from people who have instant gratification to those who have delayed gratification. It's where the people who have no patience are giving all their money away to the people who have patience. That's it. That's what he said. He said that that delayed gratification people get all the money because they're always putting something aside. They're sacrificing the future so they can own, sorry, they're sacrificing the present so they can own the future. Instant gratification people are thinking only about the present. And I believe that culturally speaking, we are trained to seek instant gratification. Just don't see a lot of conversations about sort of what's the long-term consequence if we continue with this particular behavior. People tend to think about the here and now. All right, so let's keep going. Producer, owner, investor, and I'll just throw these last two in here. Saver, entrepreneur. So a saver is the opposite of a spender. A lot of us grow up thinking about money as something that we spend. People that are smart think about money as something that they save. Saving is very, very basic. Saving is what you'd use in order to protect yourself for a rainy day. So again, that does require a shift in mindset because you have to have that ability to think, and not just in the third dimension. Remember, we talked about the third dimension is where you can see the here and now. You can see what's happening right now. The fourth dimension is where you can see what's going to happen. The fifth dimension is where you see what could happen, all the possibilities that could happen. So a saver is saying, I gotta save my money because I might get a flat tire, I might lose my job, something bad might happen to me financially. So ultimately, when you have a saver mindset, you tend to be more financially secure. That's very, very basic. And then the last piece is entrepreneur. If you ever want to accelerate your income quickly, if you ever want to get really rich really fast, the best pathway I have seen is somebody who really, really intensely studies how to be a great entrepreneur. Because all that really comes down to 9 times out of 10 is being able to figure out what people want, to be able to spot demand and fulfill it. If I can figure out what people want and give it to them, then people will pay me to give them what they want. It's that basic. It's that simple. But that's also a consciousness exercise because entrepreneurs are much more conscious, economically speaking, than people who are consumers. Entrepreneurs are studying what the consumers want. That's why they study you like rats in a lab. That's why they've got all these Nielsen studies where they study. They go, if you read a Nielsen report on black people, it will scare you. They went and studied black people. What we like to watch. They wrote in this report, they said black people love to watch TV. They loved stuff like the Tyler Perrys and all that. They also love celebrities. If you put a celebrity on any product, they will buy it. It doesn't matter. It could be some bad laundry detergent. You put Diddy on the or Tyler Perry or Oprah on the laundry detergent. Black people are going to buy it because they love celebrities. They love to watch TV. They watch more TV than most other people. So what this is saying to me when I read this report, which I felt was very disrespectful, but whatever, that's capitalism, don't care about respecting you, is basically they were saying, oh, these are easy targets. These are easy tricks. You can get so much money out of these people. All you got to do, slap a celebrity on your product. And remember, they're not sitting around trying to make plans for the future. They're not trying to control society. They're not trying to build the businesses and the institutions. They're simply trying to be the employees who can make just enough money to come and buy whatever product you're offering them on BET. That's what they're doing. And I'm not saying this is true for everybody. We know this. This is not the entirety of who we are. A lot of y'all don't fit this category at all, but you know people who do. You know people who do. And this is what Nielsen said in the study. Another great video that I remind you to watch is How to Sell to the Negro, which was a partnership between Ebony Magazine and all the white companies that they wanted to get to market in Ebony Magazine. And it will tell you a lot about the psychological barriers that exist that keep us from building Black wealth. And it was because of videos like How to Sell to the Negro that we came up with the idea of creating the Black Financial Therapy Department, because I said we need therapy. Because a person who is whole and healed and their trauma is dealt with, and they have a certain level of insight and consciousness about themselves, and they're self-aware and their self-esteem is intact, they're not going to fall for that same okie doke that somebody else is. They're not going to go spend a whole bunch of money just because they're following the crowd, or just because they're seeking validation, or just because they're trying to fit in, or just because they don't feel good about themselves. They're not going to do that. People who know who they are, people that have their self-esteem intact, are going to say, no, why would I give you money? Why am I going to pay you money when you don't even like me? But these are consciousness exercises. These are kind of in real life example. Anybody remember in the movie or in the TV show Different World? Anybody remember when Whitley Whitley went into the department store and the white lady was really mean to her? If you never, some of y'all may not be old enough to remember Different World. I assume a lot of you are, But remember that episode where she went into the department store and the white lady was really rude to her? And Whitley immediately went into, like, she instantly got triggered. Her insecurities as a black woman got triggered. And she said, I'm going to show her. And she said, I'm going to come back. And she came back to the store and bought everything in the store just to prove to this white lady that she had enough money to be in that store. How dare you tell me that I can't afford to be in your store? And then I think Sister Soldier was in that episode, and I think so. I think that was one she was in, where she basically said, "Why would you do that? Why would you give all your money to somebody who doesn't respect you?" And so Whitley went back and and got a refund on everything and said, "You don't respect me. You don't deserve my money." So that to me was a consciousness exercise. That was a financial consciousness exercise because one of the things that this is actually a tactic, this is a subconscious tactic that's used for those who sell luxury goods. So, when they want to get all these fools out here wearing Gucci and Louis and all this other stuff, one thing that they do is they pretend like you're not good enough for them. The salespeople are trained to act like you're wasting my time. Like, why are you even here? Why would I even be talking to you? So what you do is you pay the cost of admission. You pay the price to get their attention, which is to come in there and buy this $5,000 ring or this $10,000 watch, and then you get their attention. So in a way, it's almost like dating, where somebody plays hard to get you to want what they got, even though you didn't want it in the first place, but you wanted it because it was hard for you to get. Anybody ever do that stupid stuff where you chasing somebody who don't even like you that much, but walking right past the person who loves you to death? Right? We do that. A lot of us do that. Well, that's because we aren't fully conscious yet. We haven't been kicked in the head enough by life to understand, no, the person you should be chasing is the one who wants you. So just like in business, when it comes to sharing your love in a relationship, it's similar to sharing economic love. You share your money with people that respect you. Period. Because when you're giving someone your money, you're giving them your power. Why would you give power to somebody who don't like you? But people do it all the time. Look at how many abusive relationships there are where somebody is chasing around some fool that done told you 10,000 times he don't like you, he don't want you. But yet somehow, for whatever reason, you're doing the Jennifer Hudson song. No, 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 no way. I'm living without you. I'm staying. I'm staying. I don't want to be free. And men, we do it too. We do it too. There was a whole book. This white lady wrote a book called Men Love Bitches. And she was explaining to women that you're too nice. You need to be a bitch. If you're a bitch and you act like you don't want him, then he's going to chase you, because that's what men do. Men will chase the things that they cannot have, and that's what makes them valuable. And I'm gonna tell you what. Maybe when I was 21, that would have worked on me. But when I was a grown man and I knew who I was and I knew my worth, no, I'm not chasing. Why would I chase you when there's an amazing woman right here next to me that really wants me? That doesn't make any sense. Why would I sign myself up for that kind of abuse? So I think the same thing is true in relational love. That's also true in economic love. So this creates hard conversations, because then we have to have a discussion with some of the civil rights superstars to say, why were you letting those people beat you upside the head just so you could have the right to give them your money? Why would you do that? That doesn't even make any sense. But again, that's a consciousness exercise. A lot of us haven't gone through that because we spent so many years being trained that our goal, our gold standard as black people, is to be acknowledged and seen by white folks. That is not the gold standard, black people. The gold standard is not for you to be seen and acknowledged by white folks. It's for you to be seen and acknowledged by yourself. You have to see yourself. That's the gold standard. If you see yourself, then you don't care if other people see you. You don't. I could swear on everything I love. Like right now, I'm perfectly happy sitting here talking to y'all. I don't watch NBC and get jealous and wish that I was on national TV. I don't need all this stuff. Why? It's annoying to me. I've been in the white media. They don't understand people like me. Why in the hell would I want to be around people that don't like me, don't understand me, are going to stress me out and get on my nerves? No, I want to be around people who understand. I want to be around people who love me because of who I am, rather than be around people who will tolerate me despite who I am. There's a big difference. And I think that when you start thinking that way, you start questioning everything about integration and all this stuff. A lot of that stuff is for the birds, man. You don't deserve to be abused. You don't deserve to be mistreated. You don't deserve to be exploited in that way. But if we love each other, then we can create spaces where that does not have to happen. Okay. All right. So I'm done for today. I'm gonna go ahead and take off. Like I said, this weekend I'm going to the Daytona 500 to meet with that driver that we're gonna sponsor, LeVar Scott. I'll probably take some selfies with him and stuff, and I'm gonna bring him back on my platform so you guys can meet him because he's a great young man, and I thought that this would be a great way we can support this brother out here because as you know he's black and ain't many black NASCAR drivers out there, and so he doesn't get a lot of support, but I told him, I said, we got your back, and I'm gonna tell him, I said the B1 community has your back, so you would like this guy, I promise you. So look him up. His name's LeVar Scott, and that's the driver that we're going to sponsor. And then also, on Tuesday, we're doing the introduction to selling stock options. If you want to get an invitation to join that, just text the word money to 87948. I'll text it there. I'll send you the link there. If you text money to 87948, you can also get the training on how to make money without working. If you haven't seen that yet, that's really good. I think you guys are going to like that, and some other resources that can help you and your family. And if you want to check out our programs for kids, if you have children or grandkids that you want to see, succeed economically and stuff like that. We have a whole program called Black Millionaires of Tomorrow. We have flashcards for children. We also have workbooks for kids. So just text the word youth to 87948. If you text youth to 87948, I'll send you some of that information also. Okay, guys. So as you know, in the Black Business School, we have a ton of resources available, and I'll keep you guys posted on other things we have going on. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today. And as you can see, my voice is still barely coming back because I've been sick this week. So I apologize if I sound a little scruffy, but I hope this discussion was helpful to you. So take care, everybody. I'll see you all hopefully tomorrow. If not tomorrow,